Alrighty, so I wanted to make a video on should you summon for Thor, and it might be a little early to say for sure just yet. Obviously, I would recommend you go and watch some of the JP content creators and stuff because that's what I've been doing today. And honestly, after watching first impressions and everything, the devs did not showcase her very well because just from the gameplay and stuff that I've seen, it is pretty insane. So I've got a couple of videos pulled up. I want to talk about the banner itself, the ultimate, and how pay to win it is, and maybe some teammate suggestions and stuff like that, because I think there is one of the biggest questions that I've been getting recently is, if I want to summon for Thor, do I need to have Sabunak? I don't necessarily know if you need to have her. I think everyone is currently showcasing with Sabunak on the team, of course, because why wouldn't you? I do think that Sabunak is a go-to for like tanking on the team and stuff like that, because even, you know, if you haven't watched any of the Sabunak content or anything like that, Sabunak is a really good tank. Like she does very well. Like obviously there are some one-off situations where they can get like a easy merge with Escanor into like a rank up level 3 single target turn 1, and sometimes Sabunak just can't handle that. But sometimes I have seen her take a level 3 single target from Escanor and survive, and like she just does a really good job. She has that type disadvantage for Escanor's attacks, so he's not doing quite as much to her. So I do think that she's pretty helpful to have overall, and just her passive and everything like that is kind of what's making the Unknown team right now. There is a lot of room for error with the Unknown team just because of all the debuffs that you have to worry about and the cleansing and stuff that the enemies can do sometimes, which can really throw things off. But if you, I mean, with your RNG, if it's good, you can seal the right cards on the enemy team when they, you know, you don't want them to use this or that. And I mean, it really makes for like a pretty interesting team setup right now. So obviously Unknown has been getting a ton of support lately, and it just continues with Thonar into Thor. And I don't know, there's potential for a collab in August, of course, so it could be the mid-festival banner, or it could be the banner as soon as the festival ends. I'm not 100% sure on that yet, but depending on what collab it is, most collabs end up having Unknown characters in them, which ends up being support for the Unknown team. So if you're an Unknown main or want to get into the Unknown team, it's an expensive time to be a fan of the team. So either way, let's talk about the character banner first. The banner, I think everybody has pretty much come to the same conclusion. This banner is really bad. The only real support that you're going to be getting for Thor on this banner is herself, of course, and Hel. The rest of the banner really doesn't help you much at all. I haven't seen anybody do anything with Ragnarok characters yet. Thor's passive does apply specific allies, or it has a part where specific allies for her passive works with Unknown characters, of course, and Ragnarok, so there's maybe a little bit of give there. I'm not 100% sure what you're really going to want to do with that. Damage cap could be interesting, but the Yan is so easy to kill. I don't know that it's actually worth it in that sense, but either way, the banner's pretty bad. There are a lot of Ragnarok characters and stuff on here, so if you don't have them maxed out or whatever, could be some decent pulls in there if you need them. But for most people, like the festival lineup is just atrocious. Like I have no idea why they chose these specific characters for this. Like there's some usability in some of these characters, but like Bon is on like every banner. Margaret has an LR, but you know, yeah, the Goddess team is pretty much in the dumpster right now. Cusack and King are both terrible picks for the banner. Like I have no idea. No one is wanting to pull those, I don't think, unless you just are a newer player, you don't have them. Maybe that might be something, but Hel is good for the most part. She's getting a Holy Relic as well with this update if you're able to beat Ratatasker, and the Holy Relic seems like it's doing a pretty good job, so that might be a decent option for your team. And then Liz, another Goddess character, which I like this Liz. I need copies of this Liz, but I know for most people, you know, Goddess team is just bad right now, so unless you just need her or need dupes, I don't think you'll actually be using her very much right now either way. So banner's pretty bad, unfortunately. Would have been nice if like you are Gother was on here, and it might be a little too soon for him. A lot of people were hoping Arthur was going to be on here. I think that would have been a no-brainer. I understand that, you know, typically they don't bring back certain characters until way later in the year, but there's been so many festivals so far this year that it's kind of ridiculous. The character's ultimate is actually insanely strong. I have watched a couple of different people use a couple of different levels of ultimate, and it seems like even with a lower level ultimate, the ultimate still hits really, really hard. As you can see right here from this part right here, the damage scaling is 500% at level 1, 750% of attack on level 6, and of course it has modifiers on it as well, which are good, but the kicker is the pay to win aspect. So at 1/6 it does not apply her Thunder God passive. If you don't know how the character works, I think you need to do 300,000 damage or take up to 300,000 damage, and it does mix a little bit. Like if you go first, you deal 100k damage, and then they go on their turn, they deal 200k worth of damage. It's still going to proc the passive because it all feeds together. But once you do or take up to 300,000 damage, she's going to proc her passive and put Thunder God on. I don't know exactly what the translations are going to be on global just yet, but that passive actually gets applied in the ultimate if you don't already have it activated. And at 1/6 it does not get activated. You will not pop your Thunder God passive on level 1, but at level 2 and higher it does. So that is a bit of a kicker. It's not very surprising. All of the UR characters lately have had like a really bad 1/6, and then you kind of get a better character at 2/6. There's just some part of the passive that always ends up being locked at 1/6 for whatever reason with their recent scaling. And then on the bottom part here, the character actually gains like invincibility, like you can't hurt the character if they survive with a certain amount of HP. So unfortunately at 1-3-6 she has to survive with 15% or less HP and stay alive, which is pretty rough in this meta. Like normally there's just like if you get hit by an Escanor single target, he has type advantage over Thor, so that's going to hit really, really hard unless he just does just enough damage to where the extra damage drops you down below 15%. You're probably not going to proc the passive on that. And then at 4-6-5-6 it's 20%, which is not much better. And then at 6-6 it goes up a whole nother 10% at 30%. So 30% is a lot more doable. I'm not worried about 6-6ing the character or anything like that. I mean, I'll probably do 2 rotations, I guess. I don't know just yet, but I mean, if I get super lucky, sure, I'll take it. But I'm not expecting to go 6-6 or anything. I typically, it seems like my average right now is a 4-6 character for most of the URs recently, just because I've been doing 2 rotations, but it's a little pay to win. 2-6 is obviously ideal, so that way you can proc your passive with the actual ultimate itself. But, the ultimate does hit really, really hard, so more than likely, if you already have Thunder God, active when you use it, it's going to help, because Thunder God does give you attack-related stats as well, which, it's pretty good. So, talking about the characters and stuff like that you could use for the character or with Thor, Sabunak is probably going to be the go-to. She is the best tank for the Unknown team currently, and just does a really, really good job against tanking those melee single targets, which is crazy because his single target goes hard whenever he has his passive procced. It's just good for that sense. Her passive's obviously really, really good. I think the idea with Thor, though, is that she's actually going to be replacing Fitoria. I have seen a couple people use both of them together. Decent option, I guess. But for people who are not collab focused or maybe weren't around for this collab, which it was kind of recently, but there's always new people getting into the game, I think that she's going to be the DPS replacement on the team over Fitoria. So if you don't have Fitoria and you need a DPS character, Thor is going to make up that slot. Other than that, I mean, I don't really like the Albedo. I mean, maybe you could use Albedo over Sabunak if you have her, like for the tank option. Not 100% sure there. Hell is obviously a decent option with her getting a Holy Relic and everything. But other than that, there's a couple of other options that you could maybe go for. But the current, UR Gother is obviously another great option. I did watch a couple of videos today. Let me pull those up now. I have a couple of different spots pulled up. So Davo has done several 1/6 showcases where he's done various like with costumes, without upgrading costumes, with all costumes, UR gear with attack crit, UR gear with HP defense. He's been doing a lot of testing with the character in general. So if you want to check that out, I'll leave a link to his channel down below. Feel free to go, watch some of his videos. Very, very informative. This is without her Thunder God passive procced. Does pretty good damage in general. I know once you do have Thunder God procced, you will actually, like when you use a single target skill, which both of hers are single targets, there seems to be a lot of confusion with that. People seem to think that one of the cards is going to be an AoE. It's not. They're both single target. But once you have her passive procced and you use a single target, it is going to do extra damage. 50% of the damage that you dealt to the character with your single target is going to go onto the entire enemy team, which is really cool. I think this is a very good showcase. This is Nagato, obviously. You guys probably know Nagato, but I'm going to lower the volume a little bit. But he uses Gother, and this is actually an interesting setup. He talks about it a little bit in the video. Definitely check that out. But this is a really interesting setup for trying to go first, which is actually pretty decently viable. Nanashi is still in the back, and Nanashi is pretty bad on CC, but this is 3 UR Festival characters on the same team, so obviously the CC is still, like, it's really good. So he can basically just rank up here. He already has Thunder God passive procced, goes in with the level 3 on melee here, and it does 779, and then the extra damage procs, and it ends up being 1.5 mil. He is running attack crit in this video. Obviously, he had a level 2 card already in hand, and he was able to rank up with Gother, so, you know, maybe circumstances and stuff like that, but the damage that she can deal is really, really impressive. So do take that into consideration. Another thing is Marilli actually did a video on Infinity Merlin, the newer summer one that came out for the Unknown team. Like, it's currently active on Global. I think the banner is even getting extended because her passive apparently was broken, and you'll be able to see it right here. So you can see they have 4 stacks of Merlin's passive on, and then he uses an AoE skill, which will take it off. Apparently beforehand, whenever you would lose the passive, or all these stacks from the Merlin passive, like it was working whenever that you would cleanse debuffs off and stuff like that, but whenever Merlin's passive would proc and it would get rid of them and put the new debuff on, it wasn't doing any damage to the enemy team or taking away HP like it was supposed to. So now you can see, sorry, the text was in the way a little bit, they lost so much HP because of the fact that they just lost all these stacks. So I think it's 15% per stack lost, and because all of them had full stacks used in AoE, that's 60% of their HP just sapped right there, which is pretty insane. So this Infinity Merlin could also be a decent option. Not 100% sure you'll be able to get all 4 stacks on all of the enemies at the same time or anything like that if you're running up against like a Sin's team with melee, because he cleanses a little bit, or Arthur's cleanse a little bit, this and that. A couple of cleansing sort of units in the meta, of course, but could be another decent option as well. He does use a Thor card right here at the end, but this is without her passive proc actually, so still does pretty good damage. 200k, not bad with a single target. I think he's on attack crit, I'm not 100% sure. That was one of my other big questions, or not questions for me, but like I'm not sure whether or not I want to build HP defense or attack crit. I think I'm leaning towards attack crit, because for my Fitoria, for example, I have her on attack crit because with the Unknown team, more than likely you're going to be going second, and I don't mind going second with the Unknown team. Yeah, sometimes it can fall through a little bit and everything, but for the most part, I think going second with the Unknown team is kind of the go-to strat. And because this character is strong for the new 4th floor of the bird, I don't necessarily need the CC or HP from the HP defense set, so I think an attack crit set would help me there too, just to deal more damage, get the fight over with faster, be able to help me farm materials and stuff like that for that as well, because we're getting Holy Relic upgrades. So quite a lot to consider here. If you have any thoughts or opinions on it, definitely let me know. I would say overall, if you are an Unknown team enjoyer, I definitely think that she is good, like great to have. I think that she's doing really, really good numbers when you pop her passive and everything like that. Super impressive, actually. Crazy that the devs did such a bad job showing her off, but that isn't really anything new. The dev PvP stream is normally pretty hit or miss, and most of the time it's a miss. So I do think that she's good. If you run Unknowns, go for it. If you don't run Unknowns, I've seen a bunch of people say that they're not even worried about it. They're just going to continue to save. I think that's smart too. If you skip Sabunak, if you skipped Merlin, if you're skipping Thor, hopefully the next character that comes out for support for whatever team it is you use, or potentially whatever the next festival or Unknown or a collab is, if it has some decent units in it, you could probably just use all those gems you've been saving and go hard on that banner. So either way, definitely some interesting stuff. Don't run unknowns, probably not worth summoning for. I don't know that she's going to make or break on like the 4th floor of the bird. I have already seen, you know, I think I've seen Sora use LR Galland in place of her, which I thought was really funny. But I mean, hey, it works as long as you're doing the gimmicks and stuff like that of the fight. You don't necessarily need her. She's just strong for it, so she's probably going to be the ideal unit to use, but not required, of course. So either way, like I said, if you have any thoughts or opinions, let me know. Definitely an interesting character. Not 100% sure what to think just yet, but looking forward to getting my hands on her, of course, and trying her out for myself. So either way, lots of unknown footage and gameplay to come, I'm sure. And either way, thank you guys so much for watching. So hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Feel free to subscribe if you haven't already. I'll see you guys later.